I shot my father in the kitchen that night. Not with a bullet, but with the one truth he'd buried deeper than his gambling debts, the affair that shattered our family before I was even born. My mother watched from the doorway, her hands trembling around a coffee mug, as if she'd known all along and chosen silence over salvation. And, in that moment, as his empire of lies crumbled around his polished loafers, I realized revenge wasn't about justice. It was about finally growing up without their shadows clawing at my heels. The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of my Manhattan loft like it was trying to drown out the ghosts of my childhood. I'd bought this place 2 years ago, right after Grow Easy, my app for mental health check-ins disguised as daily habit trackers, hit 1 million downloads. It was supposed to be my sanctuary, a sleek 2-bedroom area in Chelsea with exposed brick and overpriced artisanal coffee from the corner bodega. But tonight, it felt like a goddamn trap. The kind my parents had always set for me without me even realizing the noose was tightening. I poured myself a glass of bourbon, top shelf, the kind Dad used to sneak from his clients' liquor cabinets during those networking dinners he dragged me to as a kid. The burn down my throat was familiar, almost comforting, like the sting of Mom's backhanded compliments about my potential. I swirled the amber liquid, staring at the city lights blurring into neon streaks below. 32 years old, and here I was, Amelia Hayes, founder and CEO of a company valued at 8 figures, still haunted by the 2 people who'd raised me on a diet of conditional love and unspoken expectations. It started with that book, How to Grow Up, A Guide to Independence in a Dependent World. They gave it to me on my 18th birthday, wrapped in cheap dollar store paper that crinkled like their insincere laughter. Dad handed it over with a wink, saying, "Time to stop being the baby of the family, Eminência. World out there won't wait for you to catch up." Mom nodded along, her smile as brittle as the pages inside, pages I dog-eared and underlined until they fell apart. That book was my Bible through community college, through the all-nighters coding in my ratty Queens apartment, through the rejection emails from venture capitalists who saw a pretty face with a pipe dream instead of the visionary I knew I was. Grow Easy was born from those margins. The app gamified therapy, quick mood logs that unlocked growth streaks, virtual badges for consistency, AI nudges that felt like a friend's tough love rather than a shrink's bill. Users loved it because it made vulnerability feel like a win, not a weakness. I bootstrapped it with savings from waitressing gigs, then pitched it to angels who believed in a bootstrapped Latina from the Bronx making it in Silicon Alley. By launch, I'd secured seed funding, and the rest, exponential. Forbes called me the millennial mentor. TechCrunch dubbed it therapy for the TikTok generation. And my parents, they called once a month, asking for updates that always circled back to, "When are you sending a check?" I should have seen the demand coming. It was classic Hayes family maneuvering: strike when the iron's hot, then act like it's your due. But hindsight's a bitch, especially when it's laced with the kind of betrayal that rewires your brain. The call came on a Tuesday, the kind of gray October afternoon where the Hudson River looks like molten lead under the overcast sky. I was in a board meeting, hashing out Series B terms with a room full of suits who smelled like Old Spice and entitlement. My phone buzzed, unknown number, but the area code was 212, their old landline from the Upper East Side brownstone they'd downsized from after Dad's early retirement. I ignored it, but the voicemail notification pinged like a grenade. "Amelia, it's your father. We need to talk. Business matters. Your mother's here too." Call back immediately. His voice was all gravel and gravitas, the tone he used to close deals back when he was a mid-level exec at Goldman. before the market crash of '08 turned him into a bitter day trader nursing scotch at noon. I excused myself, heart pounding like I'd chugged 3 espressos. Stepping into the hallway, the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting my shadow long and jagged against the carpet. I hit play again, and there it was, the undercurrent of desperation masked as authority. They wanted in. On my success. On my blood,
sweat,
and server crashes. By evening, they were at my door, uninvited as always. Dad in his Burberry trench, looking every bit the fox in the henhouse. Mom trailing behind with her knockoff Chanel quilted bag, the one she'd borrowed from a neighbor years ago and never returned. I let them in, the door clicking shut like a guillotine. "Emmy, sweetheart," Mom cooed, air-kissing my cheeks while scanning the open-plan space like she was pricing it for Zillow. "This is adequate. But you could have gone bigger." "Williamsburg." "Maybe." Dad cut straight to it, shrugging off his coat and draping it over my Eames chair like he owned the joint. "We've been following your little venture." "Impressive." "Really? But let's cut the bullshit. You're sitting on a gold mine, and family shares in family wins. We want 40%. I laughed, a sharp, disbelieving bark that echoed off the vaulted ceilings. 40%. Of equity, of profits, of the 12-hour days I'd logged since I was 25. Sleeping under my desk at the co-working space in Flatiron? "You're joking," I said, crossing my arms over my silk blouse, the one I'd splurged on after closing the seed round. "This isn't some lemonade stand I set up in the backyard. Grow Easy is mine. I built it." Dad's eyes narrowed, that predatory glint I remembered from his poker nights, where he'd bluff his way to empty wallets. "Yours? Who do you think got you that first computer? That How to Grow Up book? We invested in you." "Amelia."
blood,
"Sweat, hell."
tears,
"Your mother's breakdowns after your brother skipped town." "My heart attack in 15 that you helped pay for with those freelance gigs." Mom chimed in, dabbing at phantom tears with a manicured nail. "We sacrificed, honey, for you to have opportunities we never did. And now, you're a millionaire, and we're scraping by on Social Security and your father's." Side hustles. Side hustles. Code for the online betting rings and shady stock tips he'd peddled to desperate retirees in their building's lobby. I knew about the debts, the mortgage they'd refinanced 3 times, the credit cards maxed on European vacations that were really escapes from bill collectors. I'd wired them money before.
small amounts,
Loans that never got repaid, always with a promise of "we're turning it around, kiddo." But 40%? That was theft dressed as entitlement. I felt the hook of that old book in my gut, the one preaching boundaries like a fairy tale. "No," I said, voice steady as the subway rumbled beneath us. "Find another angle. This one's mine." They didn't leave that night. Not until after the screaming match that left my throat raw and my resolve forged in fire. Dad stormed out first, muttering about ungrateful brats and karma's a bitch. Mom lingered, her hand on my arm, whispering, "He's just proud."
Eminencia.
"Like you should be of us." Proud. Of what? The lies they'd spun to keep up appearances? The way they'd pinned their failures on me. The responsible one, while my brother,
Tommy,
vanished into the ether after high school, leaving a trail of bounced checks and broken promises. I poured another bourbon after they left, the bottle sweating condensation onto the marble island. That's when I started digging. Not the casual Google search I'd done before, no. This was scorched earth mode. I hired a PI through a contact at the app's wellness partner, a discreet ex-cop named Ruiz who owed me a favor for featuring his nonprofit in a user story. The files arrived via encrypted email 3 days later, a digital Pandora's box that made my loft feel like a tomb. Dad's affair, for starters, started in '92, right around the time Mom's depression kicked in. The other woman?
His secretary.
A Jersey girl named Carla, who'd borne him a son. My half-brother. Shipped off to boarding schools and trust funds that mysteriously dried up. Tommy knew. Of course. That's why he bolted at 18, high on coke and resentment, screaming at Dad in our cramped Harlem apartment that he wasn't the only bastard in the family. But the real gut punch? The crime I'd covered for without knowing it. In 2012, Dad's investment club was a Ponzi scheme light, siphoning retirement savings from church ladies and bodega owners, promising 20% returns on guaranteed real estate flips. When it imploded, the feds came knocking.
Mom,
Ever the schemer, flipped the script. She forged documents pinning the bulk on Tommy, who was already AWOL, making it look like he'd ghosted with the cash. I was 21, fresh out of CCNY, interning at a fintech startup. They dragged me into the lawyer's office, tears streaming, begging me to sign this affidavit saying I'd seen Tommy handling the accounts. I did it. For family. For the lie that we were all in it together. The statutes run, Ruiz noted in his report. But the paper trail? It could still bury them in civil suits, IRS audits, maybe even perjury charges if the right DA got wind. And me? I'd be the whistleblower. The daughter who turned state's evidence on her own blood. Revenge crystallized then, sharp as the bourbon's edge. Not a lawsuit, too clean, too American dream.
no.
This needed to be personal, a mirror to their betrayal. I'd give them their 40%. But on my terms. Terms that would force them to grow up, or shatter trying. The plan took shape over sleepless weeks, fueled by black coffee and the kind of rage that simmers into strategy. I looped in my COO, Lena, a sharp-tongued black woman from Detroit who'd clawed her way up from user support to C-suite, and my lawyer, a cutthroat from Skadden who'd once represented a cartel whistleblower. You're playing with fire.
Em Lena Varnid.
Her braids swinging as she paced my office. Family's not code. You can't debug betrayal. But I could refactor it. Rewrite the narrative. First, the offer. I invited them to dinner at Le Bernardin, dropping $5,000 on a table overlooking the Rockefeller glow. Neutral ground, white tablecloths, the clink of crystal masking the undercurrent of war. Dad arrived puffed up, tie loosened like he'd already won.
Mom,
In a dress 2 sizes too small, clutching her purse like a shield. 40% it is, I said over oysters, my smile as smooth as the mignonette. Their forks froze midair. But with strings. You join the board, advisory roles only. And you invest sweat equity.
Dad.
Your finance chops for investor pitches. Mom.
Your.
Networking for partnerships. Dad's eyes lit. The gambler scenting a mark. Advisory? Hell. We'll run the damn thing. No. I corrected, sipping my Sancerre. You'll advise. And sign NDAs. Full transparency on Grow Easy's ops. They bought it hook, line, and sinker. Signatures on the dotted line by dessert. Their shares vesting over 2 years, 40% total. Split 25 to 15, with clawbacks if they bailed. What they didn't know, those shares were poison pills, laced with clauses tying back to the old scheme. Every board vote, every financial disclosure, would dredge up the ghosts. And when the press release hit, Hayes' family reunites for mental health revolution, the vultures would circle. Phase 2, the leak. Subtle. Deniable. An anonymous tip to the Times business desk, flagged with keywords from Ruiz's dossier. Hayes' family ties to 2012 fraud? The article dropped a month later, buried on page B7. But it rippled. Users whispered in Slack channels, investors hedged bets. Dad fielded calls from old marks, their voices crackling with "Remember me?" Mom's network evaporated, poof, like she'd never hosted those Tupperware-level wine parties. They confronted me in the loft, rain lashing the windows again, thunder rumbling like God's own disapproval. "What the hell did you do?" Dad bellowed, face purple under the recessed lights. I held up the book, its spine cracked from years of use. "I grew up,
Dad.
just like you taught me." The fallout was biblical. The kind of storm that doesn't just pass, it reshapes the landscape. By morning, my inbox was a war zone, reporters sniffing for quotes, board members demanding emergency calls, Lena texting fire emojis with a side of "told you so." Grow easy stock, we were public now. Post-IPO, dipped 3 points on the Nasdaq, wiping a cool $1 million from my paper wealth.
But money?
That was the least of it. The real currency was control, and for the first time, I held all of it. Dad moved first. Of course. He always did. The bull in the china shop of our lives. 2 days after the article, he showed up at my office unannounced, barging past the receptionist with a manila envelope clutched like a talisman. The space was all glass and minimalism, whiteboards scrawled with user metrics, ergonomic chairs in millennial pink, a far cry from the cluttered bullpens I'd known in my early days. I met him in the conference room dubbed the greenhouse, sunlight streaming through the vertical garden walls, mocking the darkness in his eyes. "You think this is funny," he snarled, slamming the envelope down. Inside, printouts of a Times piece, highlighted in bile yellow, circled accusations like bullet points in a hit list. Ponzi?
Me?
I was helping people.
Eminência.
Diversifying portfolios in a shit economy. I leaned back in my chair, the leather creaking like a judge's gavel. Helping herself? You mean? To 6 figures in fees, while Aunt Rosa lost her nest egg for hip surgery. His face twisted, part rage, part something softer. Regret, maybe. Flickering like a bad signal. That was Tommy's mess. Kid couldn't balance a checkbook. I cleaned it up. Liar. The word hung there, simple and surgical. I'd rehearsed it in the mirror that morning, but saying it to his face, it tasted like ash. Mom forged the docs. I signed off, blind as a bat, because you cried poverty and family loyalty.
Now?
The world seeing the Hayes special, smoke, mirrors, and a daughter footing the bill. He paced. "Ty Askew," the envelope crinkling in his fist. "This tanks us all. Your app, our shares, it's collateral damage. Call it off. Retract. Tell them it was a disgruntled ex." I almost pitted him then. The fallen king reduced to pleading. Almost. No takebacks.
Dad.
You want it in? Welcome to the board. Next meeting's Friday. Bring your A game, or your resignation. He left without another word, the door whooshing shut behind him like a sigh of relief.
But Mom?
She was the wild card, The one who'd always played the long game with honeyed words and hidden knives. She texted that night. "We need to talk." Alone. Your father's. Not himself. We met at a dive bar in Hell's Kitchen. The kind with sticky floors and jukebox tunes from the 80s, Springsteen wailing about promised lands that never came. She slid into the booth across from me, nursing a gin and tonic. Her lipstick smudged like a war wound. "Amelia," she started, voice low and laced with that old maternal magic.
"This isn't you."
"Vengeful?
"Petty?"
"We raised you better." "Raised me." The word ignited something primal. A flash of memories. Birthday cakes from the corner bakery because homemade's for amateurs. Report cards hidden because straight A's make boys nervous. The way she'd whisper during Dad's rages. "He's under stress. Baby." Men provide. Provide. Like the affair was just another ledger entry. Carla and the half-brother a footnote in their balanced books. "You raised a scapegoat," I countered, signaling the bartender for another round. The neon bud sign buzzed overhead, casting her face in crimson hues. "Tommy Bolts. You pin the fraud on him." "Dad's debts pile up. I wire thousands without questions." "And that book? It wasn't a gift, it was a dismissal." "Grow up.
"Kid."
We're done carrying you."
"Well."
"Guess what? I did." "And now you're carrying me?" 40% says otherwise. Her eyes welled. Genuine this time. Or, at least the performance was Oscar-worthy. "We were scared."
"Eminencia."
After the crash. The house. Everything slipping. Tommy was spiraling, drugs. Girls. That motorcycle accident he lied about. We thought if we protected him, kept the family intact. Intact. I laughed, bitter as the bar nuts. "You mean complicit?" "I could have gone to jail."
"Mom."
"Perjury's a felony." Instead, I played along, fresh out of school, thinking it was love. Not leverage. She reached across the scarred oak table, her hand cool on mine. It was love.
"Still is."
"Let us fix this. I'll talk to Dad, get him to step back. You keep your company. We fade away. No shares. No board.
Just us."
Grandkids someday. Holidays without the drama. The offer dangled there. Seductive in its normalcy, the white picket fence fantasy we'd never had. Part of me, the girl who'd traced family trees in crayon, wanted to grab it. But the woman I'd built from those broken lines, she saw the flip, the scheme beneath the sentiment. Mom wasn't conceding, she was regrouping, buying time to lawyer up or leak her own dirt, maybe that internship favor I'd pulled for a cousin, or the gifts from early investors that skirted ethics. "No deal," I said, pulling my hand away. "Sign the divestiture papers by week's end, or the next drops to ProPublica.
Full dossier."
Your affair love letters included." Her face crumpled, the mask slipping to reveal the schemer, lips pursed, eyes calculating escape routes. She left with a hissed, "You're dead to us," the door jangling bells like a funeral toll. Friday's board meeting was a circus. The greenhouse packed with VCs in bespoke suits and advisors tapping iPads like anxious therapists. Dad arrived late, disheveled, sporting a 5 o'clock shadow that screamed all-nighters at the track. He took his seat at the far end, the one I'd reserved with a nameplate, Richard Hayes, strategic advisor. Mom declined, citing a migraine, but her absence was louder than any outburst. We dove into metrics, user retention up 15%, partnerships with Kaiser and talks, but the undercurrent was electric. Eyes darting to Dad like he was a live wire. When it came to his input on the pitch deck, he launched, revisions scribbled in red ink. Buzzwords like disruptive synergy that dated back to his Saks days. Too touchy-feely, he barked. Investors want ROI, not rainbows. Cut the wellness crap, amp the monetization. Lena bristled beside me, her pen clicking like a metronome of restraint. With respect, Mr.
Hayes.
Our users aren't ATMs. Retention's built on trust, not upsells. Trust, he scoffed, leaning forward, veins bulging in his neck. You kids and your apps. Back in my day, we built empires on handshakes and balls. Not this. Therapy porn. The room froze. A collective inhale. I could have shut it down, banged the gavel, escorted him out. But this was the point. Exposure. Raw and unfiltered. Let them see the emperor naked. Shares vesting or not. Appreciate the candor. Dad, I said evenly, nodding to the minutes taker. Noted for review. The meeting dragged on, his interjections growing sharper, laced with barbs about millennial snowflakes and woke metrics. By adjournment, whispers followed him out. Who the hell is that? Family hire? Bad optics. Post-mortem with Lena in my office. She poured us scotch from the minibar. Her laugh a release valve. You sicked Godzilla on Tokyo. Brilliant, but suicidal. Stocks rebounding. But if he keeps yapping, he won't, I assured her, though doubt nod. That night, alone in the loft, I pored over the dossier again. Carla's obit from 18, ovarian cancer. The half-brother, Jake, now a barista in Brooklyn with a rap sheet for petty theft. Dad's seed money for him, funneled through shell accounts I'd unknowingly co-signed. The web was vast, sticky, and I was the spider now. But spiders get tangled too. A week later, the flip came not from them, but from within. My phone rang at 2 a.m., Tommy's number flashing like a ghost. Brother dearest, clean for 5 years, living off-grid in Vermont with a wife and kid, the prodigal who dodged the noose. He rasped, voice thick with sleep or smoke. Dad called. Said you're gunning for blood. What's the play? I sat up in bed. Sheets twisted around me like restraints. The play?
Truth. Tommy.
You ran. I stayed and cleaned. Time they paid the tab. Silence. Then a sigh that carried the weight of our fractured bloodline.
He told me about Jake.
The other kid. Said you'd out him to the press. Ruin the family for good. Out him? The dossier had Jake's details. But my plan stopped at the parents. Leverage. Not annihilation. Or had Dad twisted it? The ultimate flip. Painting me as the monster to rally the exile? Tommy? Listen.
No.
You listen. Mom's talking suicide again. Pills in the bathroom. The whole drama. If you push.
Immunancia.
We all break.
Click. Dead air.
I hurled the phone across the room, screen cracking against the wall. Suicide. The word echoed like a verdict. Mom's old threats from my teen years. If you leave, what's left for me? Weaponized anew. Was it bluff? Or the final card in her deck? Dawn broke gray over the skyline. And I made the call I dreaded. Ruiz. For surveillance. Eyes on the brownstone. Discreet. By noon. Confirmation. Mom at the pharmacy. filling a Zoloft script. No extras.
Bluff.
But the damage? It lingered. A crack in my armor. The shares vested partially that month, 10% each, depositing windfalls into their accounts. Dad celebrated with a yacht rental in the Hamptons. Instagram flexing bottles and blondes. Tagging family first. Mom posted passive-aggressive quotes about forgiveness. Hearts from distant cousins.
Me?
I watched from afar. The app's notifications pinging user stories of breakthroughs. Breakthroughs I no longer felt. The tension coiled tighter. A spring ready to snap. Holiday season loomed, Thanksgiving. That American ritual of forced gratitude, and with it, the next board meeting. Dad's barbs had escalated. Leaks suggested he was shopping rival pitches. Whispering to competitors about insider fixes. Mom, silent but scheming, had lawyered up. Filings hinting at undue influence on the equity deal. I needed escalation. Something to force the hand, make them choose, fold or fight dirty. The idea hit during a run along the High Line. Wind whipping my ponytail. The city a blur of steel and ambition. The book. Use the book. Digitize it. Rebranded as Grow Easy's foundational reads feature. A tie-in chapter on family dynamics. Anonymized but laced with echoes. When parents demand your future. Reclaim it. Boundaries aren't betrayal, they're birthrights. The launch was viral. Podcasts, TikToks. A spot on NPR's Code Switch. Users devoured it, sharing stories of toxic ties severed. But the hook? A teaser excerpt. Veiled as fiction. The father who gambled legacies. The mother who forged fates. The daughter who signed away her soul. No names, but the metadata screamed haze. Dad's response was swift, a cease and desist via courier. Dropped on my desk like a gauntlet. Defamation. Slander. Family destruction. Mom followed with a tearful voicemail. How could you?
Ink.
We're all we have. All we have. The lie that bound us. Now the chain I'd forge into a weapon. Thanksgiving arrived like an uninvited guest. The air crisp with the promise of frost and the underbelly of regret. I'd hosted before. Turkey from Zabbers. Sides catered from Amy's Bread, but this year? Solo. No parents at the reclaimed wood table. No Tommy via Zoom from his maple syrup hideout. Just me. A bottle of Napa Cab. And the hum of the fridge echoing my isolation. The loft smelled of sage and denial. The Macy's parade droning on the flat screen like a bad omen. I scrolled the app's feed instead. Users posting gratitude grids, thankful for therapy that stuck. Broke free from the family script today. Irony bit deep, my creation healing wounds I'd inflicted on myself. By Pie's second slice. The wine loosened the knots. And I texted Lena. Ditch the family drama? Movie night? She arrived at 7. Arms laden with Thai takeout and a 6-pack of IPA. Her locks tied back in a no-nonsense puff. Girl, if you think I'm missing your villain arc for burnt rolls and passive aggression, you're high. We sprawled on the sectional. The Godfather flickering. Family as fortress. Betrayal as sacrament. Midway through Sonny's ambush. My phone lit up. Dad. Amelia. Open the door. His voice was slurry, edged with bourbon bravado. I peeked through the peephole, him swaying in the hallway, Mom propping him up like a wilted scarecrow. Go away, I called, chain rattling in place. Holidays off limits. Mom's plea filtered through. Please, baby. We brought pie.
And
Papers. Papers. The divestiture. Maybe. Or a trap wrapped in pumpkin crust.
Lena raised a brow.
Pausing Brando mid-monologue. Your call.
Boss.
But if it's ambush hour, I'm your consigliere. I unchained, the door swinging wide to their disheveled duo, Dad's shirt untucked, Mom's mascara raccooned. They stumbled in, the scent of gravy and grief trailing. Family dinner, Dad declared, thrusting a foil pan like a peace offering. No business. Just us. Lena cleared space at the island, ever the diplomat, while I poured coffees, black. No sugar. The way grudges brew. We ate in strained silence, forks scraping plates, the city symphony outside a mocking counterpoint. Then, the flip. Dad slid the envelope across, fingers trembling.
Sign.
We walk. 40% gone. The terms were brutal, their exit clean, but with a gag clause on me. NDA's binding silence on the past. In exchange, a buyout clause valuing their shares at pre-scandal highs. A 7-figure payout for my reserves. Generous, Mom murmured, eyes downcast. We don't deserve it.
But.
For peace.
Peace.
The word slithered like a serpent, tempting Eden's apple.
Sign.
And the leaks stop. The board stabilizes. Jake stays hidden. Tommy's calls resume. But at what cost? My spine, forged in those book pages,
stiffened.
One edition, I said, pen hovering. Full confession.
To me?
Recorded. The affair. The scheme. The signatures I faked. No edits. Dad's fork clattered. Blackmail? That's your price. Truth, I corrected. You demanded my future. I demand yours, unvarnished. Mom's hand flew to her throat, pearl necklace twisting.
Ink.
That's
cool.
Some things stay buried for sanity's sake. Sanity. Laughter bubbled. Sharp and unhinged. You buried me under your sins. Tommy's ghost account. My perjury rap sheet. Grow up,
Mom.
Or sign and slink away. The clock ticked. A metronome to their marriage's death rattle. Dad's jaw worked. Gears grinding. Mom's tears fell. Silent accusations. Finally, he nodded, jerky.
Defeated. Fine.
But you deleted after. No leaks. We moved to the living room. My phone propped on the coffee table like a confessional booth. The recording app glowed red. Accusatory. Dad started. Voice gravel over glass shards. 1992. Carla Ruiz. My secretary. Summer internship program. One night. Too many drinks at the office party.
It
escalated. Jake came 9 months later. I set up a fund, $20K a year. Threw offshore. Ended when the market tanked. Mom interjected. Her whisper fracturing. I knew by Christmas. Found the hotel receipts. But confrontation? It would have destroyed us.
So I
adapted. Therapy.
Pills.
Told myself it was for you girls. Girls. Plural. The half-sibling reveal hung. Unspoken, the sun they'd erase like a bad draft. Then the fraud, Dad's monotone detailing the club, promises of flips in Jersey developments that never materialized. Borrowed from friends. Flipped to more. 80K in.
40 out.
When it soured, I panicked. Tommy was already dipping small amounts for his habits.
We
Amplified it. Made it look like he took the lion's share. Mom's turn. Voice a thread. The docs? I typed them on your old laptop.
Eminência.
Your signature. I traced it from a permission slip.
Thoughted by time.
Protect the family.
Protect.
The word looped. A noose tightening.
Me.
21.
Starry-eyed.
Signing away my integrity for their facade. The recording clocked 15 minutes. A lifetime condensed. When they finished, silence descended, heavier than the rain resuming outside. Delete it, Dad rasped, slumping into the armchair. I hit stop, thumb hovering over trash. Not yet. One more, Jake. Where's he now? Mom's eyes widened, the flip. Exposed. Brooklyn. A coffee shop on Atlantic. But
He's
troubled.
don't.
Drag him in. I finished, pocketing the phone.
No.
But he deserves the truth. The fund you cut off. The brother he never knew. Dad surged up, chair scraping. You touch him.
And
what? Lena interjected from the kitchen, arms crossed, a pint in hand. The game's changed.
Rick.
Your move's been checkmated. They left at midnight. Pie uneaten. Envelope and signed. The door's click was final. A chapter slammed shut. But as I deleted the file, honoring the pact, or testing my own mercy, doubt crept. Had I pushed too far? The app pinged. A user story. Forgave the unforgivable today. Feels like chains breaking.
Lies.
Some chains rusted, but they never fully snapped. December blurred into a frenzy, holiday launches, investor roadshows, the stock climbing back on buzz from the book tie-in. Dad ghosted the board, citing health issues, his resignation faxed with a curt best of luck. Mom's posts shifted to wellness retreats in Sedona, captions about healing journeys, blocking me mid-scroll. Tommy called once. Terse, heard the tape rumors. Back off.
Eminência.
For all of us. For all of us. The refrain of my life. The yoke I'd worn until it chafed raw. I threw myself into work. Lena at my side like a shadow sister. But the loft echoed emptier. The book on my nightstand a talisman turned tombstone. The antagonist's next flip came veiled as olive branch, a letter from Dad's lawyer. Gold-embossed stationery reeking of old money pretensions. Settlement proposal. Mutual non-disclosure. Plus a family trust for Amelia's future heirs.
Heirs.
As if I'd spawn replicas of their dysfunction. Buried in the legalese? A clause demanding veto power over app content. Censor the family chapter. Scrub any whiff of scandal. I laughed in the lawyer's office. Midtown Tower views mocking the pettiness below. Tell Richard Hayes no. And up the ante. Release the audit. The audit. Phase 3. The crown jewel. I'd commissioned it months back. A forensic deep dive into Grow Easy's books. Cross-referenced with Dad's old ledgers from Ruiz. Surface level?
Clean.
But footnotes flagged legacy contributions, the loans I'd sent home, funneled through the company as consulting fees at their insistence post-equity deal. Tax evasion adjacent, if audited. The report dropped to the board anonymously, whispers tracing back to a Hayes insider. Chaos erupted, emergency calls, SEC filings queried. Lena fielding journos with deflections like routine diligence. Dad's response? A blistering email chain. CCNG the family, me.
Mom.
Even Tommy, Sabotage. From the daughter I made.
Made.
The delusion peaked. And with it, my counterstrike. New Year's Eve. Times Square thrumming below like a heartbeat on steroids. I hosted the app's first growth gala, black tie bash at the Standard. Influencers and execs toasting resolutions under disco balls refracting like fractured promises. I took the mic at midnight. Crowd hushed. Confetti cannons primed. To growing up, I toasted.
Glass raised.
Not in spite of our scars,
but because of them. Tonight,
we honor the hidden battles, the betrayals that built us. The screen behind lit, testimonials, user videos. Then, twist, a montage of inspirations. Stock footage of rainy streets, faded photos of brownstones, a voiceover reciting book excerpts. No names, but the subtext screamed, "This is my story." Our stories. The crowd erupted, but my phone buzzed mid-cheer. Unknown number. Jake's voice. Hesitant. Young, late 20s. Edged with Jersey grit. Amelia?
It's
your brother. Half, I guess. Dad said to call. Said you're the one who remembers. Remembers. The word unlocked it. The final piece. The antagonist, not just parents, but the progeny of their lies. Where are you? I asked, slipping to the balcony. Party roar fading. Atlantic Avenue. The Beanery.
Can we talk? The method down.
The shop a steamy haven amid pre-dawn chill. Espresso machines hissing like confidants. Jake was wiry. Tattoos peeking from his flannel. Anchors and roses. Inked regrets. His eyes, Dad's eyes, held no malice, just the hollow of half-truths. He told me last week, Jake said over black coffee. Steam curling like questions. The affair. The fund cutoff. Said you were coming for blood, exposing me as the bastard kid to tank your app. Another flip. Dad's masterpiece. Pitting spawn against spawn. The schemer's endgame. Lies, I said. Stirring sugar I didn't take. I'm ending it. The shares. The secrets. But you're not a secret anymore. Unless you want to be. He leaned back. Barista apron rumpled. What? Family reunion?
Pass. But
money? He mentioned a trust. 4 heirs. The trap snapped. Dad's settlement. Baited for Jake. A way to launder the payout through family reconciliation. Controversial? Hell yes. Rewarding the affair's fruit while I footed the bill? No trust, I decided. Voice steal. But equity, real shares. 5%. Vested clean. No strings. Build something with it. Or don't. Your call. His grin cracked.
Tentative.
Why? Because someone has to break the cycle. The book again. It's gospel turned gospel truth. He nodded. Fist bump sealing it. Brothers in arms. Or, at least in ink. But as I left, Brooklyn brownstones looming like sentinels. The weight settled. Was this mercy? Or manipulation? Readers, hell. My own conscience would split. Hero reclaiming kin. Or villain buying silence. The year turned. Resolutions fraying. And the climax brewed. Dad's final play, a lawsuit. Filed in federal court. Alleging fraudulent inducement on the equity deal. Headlines screamed tech heiress sued by parents. Family feud or foul play. Pundits picked sides. Fox calling me ruthless millennial. CNN empowered whistleblower. The app surged. Ironically, scandal-fueling downloads, users hooked on the drama like a serialized Netflix drop. Board ousted the shares. Buyback at fire sale prices, leaving mom and dad with crumbs. Mom's retreat posts turned dark, lost in the desert of deceit, hinting at the edge. Tommy arrived unannounced, Vermont dirt on his boots, pleading mediation.
Ink.
They're broken. You're winning. But at what? Winning. The word soured. Late nights. Bourbon my confessor. I question the cost, the perjury scar, the brother bond bought with boardroom blood. January's bites sank deep into the city. Winds howling off the East River like banshees keening for the death of dynasties. The lawsuit hung over Grow Easy like a guillotine blade. Discovery motions piling up in my lawyer's inbox, depositions scheduled, e-documents subpoenaed. Dad was all in. His filings of venomous greed. Amelia Hayes. Once a dutiful daughter. Now a corporate serpent coiled around family legacy. Serpent. Fitting. Biblical. Eve's curse revisited. But who'd tempted whom? I prepped in a loft. War room mode. Whiteboards mapped with timelines. Ruiz's dossier pinned like a suspect board from a cop show. Lena crashed often. Takeout containers littering the coffee table. Her insights cutting sharper than any brief. He's flipping the script.
Eminência.
Painting you as the gold digger. Him the victim. Jury loves a sob story, middle-aged white guy down on his luck. She was right. The press pivoted. Tabloids ran side by sides. Me in power suits versus dads every man had shot from his LinkedIn. Frozen in perpetual optimism. Mom played the frail flower. Leaking anonymous quotes to page 6 about a daughter's ingratitude crushing a mother's heart.
Crushing.
As if her forgeries hadn't crushed mine first. The deposition was set for Friday. Neutral ground in a Tribeca conference suite, polished oak. View of the Holland Tunnel snaking underground like buried sins. I arrived early. Hair in a severe bun. Blouse starched to armor. The court reporter fiddled with her stenotype. The videographer adjusting lights that pinned me like a specimen. Dad entered last. Flanked by his shark, a silver-haired pit bull from Kirkland and Ellis. Fees no doubt fronted by some desperate mark from the old club. Mom sat observer row. Pearls clutched, eyes red-rimmed from nerves.
No Tommy.
No Jake, my reinforcements ghosts. State your name for the record. The lawyer purred. All Southern drawl and steel. Amelia Sophia Hayes. Relationship to plaintiff Richard Hayes?
Daughter.
The questions flowed. Innocuous at first. Founding date of Grow Easy. Equity structure. The dinner at La Bernardine. Then the hook. MS.
Hayes.
Isn't it true you coerce the plaintiffs into signing under duress? Leveraging fabricated scandals to extort compliance. Fabricated. The word ignited.
No.
The scandals were there's a 2012 investment fraud pinned on my brother. Documents forged by my mother. My signature appended without full disclosure. Objection from my counsel. Sustained. But the seed planted. Dad's lawyer pressed. Voice oily. And this dossier anonymous source. Unverified claims. Sounds like a hit job. Wouldn't you say? Motivated by resentment over. Parental guidance. Guidance. I met his gaze. Then Dad's, haggard now. Jowls sagging like deflated sails. Guidance? Like gifting a book on independence while demanding dependence? Or covering felonies to preserve the facade? Sustained speculation. The judge drawled via video link. But the room thickened. Air charged. Mom shifted. a soft gasp escaping the flip. Her cue? She took the stand next. Voice quavering for the mic. Amelia was always intense. After college, she sent money unprompted. We thought it gratitude. Then the demand started, shares or we'd expose family matters. Expose. The lie landed like a slap, twisting my wires. I'd offered the shares. They demanded. But juries ate narratives. And hers was Thanksgiving pie, warm, wholesome, with a side of tragedy. My turn to cross, Mrs.
Hayes.
Regarding the affidavit in the 2012 matter, did you type it? Trace my signature? Her paws stretched, eyes darting to Dad. Signal received.
I
Assisted. For protection. Tommy was vulnerable. Vulnerable enough to frame for fraud? My lawyer reined me. But the damage bloomed. Whispers in the hall post-session. She's unhinged. He's the stable one. That night. The counterpunch. Jake's debut. I'd coached him. No script. Just truth. He called into a live podcast I guested on. Tech and Trauma, hosted by a Breen Brown acolyte. This is Jake Ruiz, he said, voice steady over static. Richard Hayes' son. The one from the affair. Amelia didn't out me, he did. In court docs. To discredit her. Said I was proof of her vendetta. The host gasped my co-guest. A psych prof. Leaned in. That's weaponizing trauma. Richard. Classic deflection. Listen spiked, 10,000 in an hour. By morning, Jake trended, hidden haze. Memes of family trees with question marks. Dad's lawyer scrambled. Motion to seal filed. But the genie smirked from the bottle. Mom's flip came swift. A midnight ER visit, overdose attempt. Ambien and wine. The tabloids trumpeting tech scion's mother in crisis. Tommy arrived. Vermont pallor clashing with ER fluorescence. Hugging me awkwardly in the waiting room. She's stable. But
This ends now.
Mediation. Please. Mediation. The word dangled. Neutral as Switzerland. We convened in a Soho law office. Neutral arbitrators presiding like weary gods.
Dad.
Gaunt in an ill-fitting suit, Mom. Bandaged wrist a silent accusation, Tommy. Mediator's shadow, me. Alone but armored. Terms, drop the suit. Forfeit shares. NDA on all past. Present. Jake included. In exchange, silence. No trusts. No leaks. A clean break. American as divorce papers. I countered. Confession public. Op-ed in the Times. The cost of family lies. Your bylines. Dad's laugh barked.
Hollow.
You want our heads on pikes? For what? Your TED Talk. For healing, I said, echoing the app's mantra.
Grow easy's about that.
Not hiding. Mom's tears flowed. Genuine fracture. We can't. The shame. It'd kill us.
Kill.
The word weaponized again. But this time, it cracked me. The room spun, flashes of her episodes, Dad's rages. The book is lifeline. Was I the villain? Demanding public flogging? Or liberator? Forcing catharsis? Tommy leaned in. Voice low. Compromise. Private therapy. Family. All of us, including Jake. No press.
Therapy.
The irony, my app's core. Now prescribed for its creator. I nodded. The spring uncoiling.
Fine.
6 months. Mandated. Or the op-ed drops. They signed. Hands shaking. The arbitrators stamping finality. Handshakes all around, cold, cursory, and we dispersed into the February slush. A fractured quintet pretending at wholeness. The months blurred. Sessions in a Gramercy Park brownstone. Circle of mismatched chairs. A therapist named Dr. Voss with wire rims and zero bullshit. Dad grumbled through accountability exercises, admitting the affair in clipped sentences. Jake's name a stutter. Mom unpacked the forgeries. Voice small. Fear made me forge more than signatures, our entire life. Tommy shared his spirals. The guilt of fleeing. Jake, the outsider, vented abandonment raw.
Me?
I unloaded the perjury weight. The book as both chain and key. You gave me independence, I told them one rainy Tuesday. Thunder punctuation. But demanded dependence. 40% wasn't equity, it was ownership of my soul. Dad's eyes met mine. Stripped. I was scared.
Eminência.
Of failing you like I failed. Him.
Jake.
The admission hung. Bridge tentative. Progress? Incremental. Dad volunteered at a financial literacy nonprofit. Mom journaled actual pages, not passive posts. Jake joined the app's beta test team. His UX tweaks sharpening the family module. Tommy visited weekly. His kids' drawings taped to my fridge. But tension simmered. Flips lurking. Dad's old habits, a tip on crypto that bombed. Straining the buyback funds. Mom's relapse, a wine-fueled call blaming me for stirring the pot. The antagonist wasn't one, it was us. A hydra of half-truths. By spring, the app hit 10 million users. Valuation soaring. But my loft felt haunted. Echoes of depositions. Overdose sirens. Lena noticed. Over rooftop margaritas. You're free.
Eminência.
Why the ghost face?
Free.
The word chafed. Because revenge. It's Pyrrhic. I shocked them.
Yeah.
But who shocks me? The twist brewed in silence. A seed in fertile soil. Word count, 1001. File 5. April showers birthed May's deceptive bloom. Cherry blossoms papering the paths of Central Park like pink confetti at a funeral. Grow Easy's Spring Reset campaign launched to fanfare. Virtual retreats. AI-guided rebirths. But for me, reset meant reckoning. The kind that claws from within. Therapy had sanded the edges. But scars itched. Reminders that peace was probation. Not pardon. Dad's relapse hit first. Subtle as a shadow. A board observer invite from a VC pal. Just consulting, he claimed in session.
Dr.
Voss called it boundary testing, I called bullshit. No, I told him over diner eggs. The kind greasy and unforgiving. That life's done. Find a hobby, golf. Not gambles. His grin twisted. The old fox. Can't blame a man for trying.
Eminência.
Blood's thicker. Thicker. It clogged. Suffocating. Mom's turn came swifter, a wellness weekend in the Hamptons. Posted with yacht selfies. Captions reclaiming joy. Jake spotted the tag, Dad's old mark. The widow who'd lost her IRA to the scheme. She's flipping, he texted. Emoji a raised brow. Using your platform to network cons? I confronted her at a neutral, Starbucks. Midtown rush hour anonymity. The weekend?
Spill.
Her latte steamed between us. Foam heart-mocking. Innocent.
Eminência.
Old friend. No harm. Friend? She sued you in 13. Settled out of court. My tuition money. Right? Deflection. Her specialty. Water under. We're all healing. Per the therapist. Healing. The word weaponized anew. I left with a warning. Boundaries.
Mom.
Or the cycle spins. But doubt trailed like exhaust. Tommy's visit that week tipped the scale. Vermont fam in tow. His wife Elena with toddler in arms. The loft transformed into a playpen of blocks and sippy cups. Joy flickered. Unbidden, the kids' giggles echoing voids. But over bedtime story, Tommy pulled me aside, Dad's talking settlement redux. With Jake. Family trust again. But bigger. App IP slice 4, legacy protection. Legacy. The Hydra reared. Heads multiplying.
Dad.
Enlisting the exile. Mom. Charming the spurned. Now Tommy. The glue cracking under pressure. And Jake. My wild card brother. Texting hesitantly. He reached out. Offered 10% cut if I advise, on a rival app.
Said you're hoarding the pie.
Rival app. The flip complete, parents scheming a clone. Poaching kin as pawns. Controversial? Diabolical. Readers would rage. Victims rising. Or vipers striking low. I called an all hands, not bored.
But blood.
The loft. That fateful rainy night. Rain sheeting windows like tears unshed. They arrived piecemeal. Dad defiant. Scotch on breath, Mom fluttering. Excuses prepped, Tommy sheepish. Elena home with the kid, Jake last. Barista shift fresh. Apron folded underarm. No lawyers, I stipulated. Circle of chairs mirroring therapy, but raw. No games. The truth, all of it. Or I walk. For good. Dad broke first. Posture crumbling. We.
Panicked.
The sessions. The shame, it's eating us. Thought a reboot.
Your tech, but ours.
Legacy.
Imminência.
Not theft. Mom nodded. Tears theatrical. We're old. Irrelevant. You shine, we fade. Let us have a piece. Tommy, I pushed it. For the kid. Stability. Jake's silent. Then, he promised no poach.
Just.
Belonging. Belonging. The crux. The American ache. Dreams deferred. Families fractured by ambition's blade. I stood, pacing the Persian rug. Book in hand, the talisman. Thumbed to Chapter 7, reclaiming your narrative. You gave me this, I said, holding it aloft. Taught me independence. Then demanded dependence, 40% of my empire. My soul. I shocked you back. Leaks. Audits. Jake's reveal. Thought it'd ended. But revenge? It's a mirror. Shows your monsters and mine. Silence. Thunderous. Dad's voice cracked. What now?
Then?
Jail? Ruin? The choice. Pyrrhic victory or poison peace. The climax. Splitting souls. Am I avenger or abuser? Heroine or harpy? Now, we build.
Real.
Grow Easy's open source family module, your input. Credited. No shares. No control. But voices. Stories. The affair. The fraud. Anonymized. Heal public. Or rot private. Mom gasped. Dad paled. Tommy exhaled. Jake leaned in. Or, I added. Voice steel. I buy you out full. Walk away. No contact. No claims. Your call. The room fractured then, debate erupting. Sides drawn. Dad railed extortion. Mom pleaded mercy. Tommy mediated middle. Jake. Quiet fire. I'm in. For real this time. Hours bled into dawn. Rain easing to drizzle. They chose the build, tentative. Trembling signatures on a new pact. Contributors, not claimants. The op-ed ran co-bylined. From betrayal to breakthrough, a family's reckoning. Ghosted, but theirs in spirit. Headlines debated. Redemption or PR stunt. Forum split, she's a saint. Forgiving vipers versus enabling toxicity for clicks. For me, ambiguous absolution. The app thrived. Users hailing the Haze protocol. Raw recovery. No filters. Dad golfs now. Sober swings. Mom journals. Shares unprompted. Tommy visits. Kids laughter staple. Jake codes. Brother badge earned.
But the twist?
Late June. A letter arrives. Carla's sister. Envelope postmarked Jersey. Inside, a photo. Faded, Dad young. Arm around her. Jake toddler swaddled. Note. He never told you the full truth. The affair started because Richard discovered your mother's secret first, a one night with his partner.
Pre-you.
The schemes? Retaliation.
Tit for tat.
We're all complicit. Amelia.
Grow from that.
The bomb drops. Rewriting roots. Mom's flip predated Dad's. Betrayals concentric. Endless. I burn the photo. But the ash lingers. Debate eternal. Was it all futile? Or the ultimate growth? Thorns and all.
Et pour Bourbon?
Rain resuming. City eternal. The book closes. Finally. Revenge? Shocking.
Yes.
But maturity? In the mess. The mirrors. The maybe.
Happy?
Tragic? You decide. After all, growing up's the real controversy, no winners. Just survivors scripting the next page.